Also, speaking about people being behind screens, I think we often forget as students, more so now, that our lecturers and tutors are also human, and they've gone through exactly what perhaps we're going through now. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions, Aditya, about you as a human being and how you got to teaching PPE Integration 3 at the ANU.
So I actually sit in CASS, and I'm in the School of History, which, strictly speaking, doesn't have anything to do with PPE, but it's actually part of a sort of initiative between the Research School of Economics in CBE, which helps convene PPE, and the School of History in CASS, to sort of work together on issues of economic history. So we have some of our faculty teach the Australian Economic History course, and equally, the Research School of Economics helps support certain economic history conferences and seminars and sort of research agendas that both Research School of Economics and History partake in. And part of the sort of vision that the director of the RSC and head of the School of History have is that both these schools will work together and identify areas in which we can kind of valuably bring each other's methods into teaching and instruction. And so my teaching PPE is very much a part of that. It's part of a sort of broader, I suppose, cross-fertilization between these two schools. And it's something that, tries to break down some of the barriers that we have because of these sort of various colleges, various colleges operating somewhat independently of each other at the ANU. One of the other reasons why I teach PPE integration is because it's actually quite deeply tied into my own research interests. My PhD thesis is about the history of economic ideas. Granted, it's about the middle of the 20th century and it's about India, and it's not really something that we get up to in the course until maybe the very end. But the history of economic thought is sort of where I started when I was an undergraduate in terms of a course that was like this, but was a different kind of seminar. And it's something that I think is sort of foundational for people who are interested in not just history of economics, but also the sort of philosophy of economics. And I think in that, there's a sort of autobiographical interest, given that it was a course that was important to me. But it's also, I think, for me, a course that I'm interested in teaching because of the great things I've heard about the PPE students and their sort of openness to and ability to sort of move beyond disciplinary boundaries in their thinking. So that's why I'm here.
That's great. That's fantastic. And I suppose the penultimate question before we wrap this interview up is there something that you wish you'd known as a student that you can pass on to the people watching today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the major thing was I was actually too concerned about my marks. Not MARX. Sorry, I had to make that joke. Week 7, everybody. No, I was quite concerned about assessments, and I think that interfered with my learning process. I had to kind of go into a graduate program where there weren't any grades to actually be able to take the kinds of risks and kind of operate without a kind of fear of assessment that allowed me to actually learn to think properly. Otherwise, I was very, very focused on trying to maximize my grade point average and that sort of thing. And that it takes, as my old violin teacher used to say, if you learn something wrong, it's doubly a problem because then you have to do 2 steps, which is to unlearn and then relearn. And so that's the thing that I think is most the sort of biggest takeaway. I got some bad advice actually, which was that, whatever, when it comes to taking a course that's maybe more difficult or taking something that's a little easier, but something that you'll get a better grade in, take the safe option. I don't think that's actually very good advice because if you think about it, I mean, yes, if you're a sort of music student with no interest in mathematics, probably not going to do quantum mechanics, right? But if it's about, a certain level of enrichment or taking a slightly higher level of, economics course or philosophy course, shooting for something that's maybe at the postgraduate level, I think those risks are always worth taking. And when you think about it, something that seems very big to you as a student, in the grand scheme of things, starts to matter less. And I know that I'm going to say that, and a lot of people are going to sort of take it in one year and out the other. But for the small minority of students who might actually take that seriously, I think that's very important. And I say that, because getting those very, very high grades don't actually give you, in and of themselves, don't actually necessarily give you the self-confidence to become a better thinker. But becoming a better thinker is going to serve you well no matter what you choose to do.
That's actually very good advice, because from a student perspective, what we can see is when's our next assignment due, and then when's the exam, and what do we have to do for that, and we're pretty much just caught up in that because of the time pressure and everything else that goes with it. But keeping that bigger picture in mind and having that broader perspective of what am I actually trying to get out of this course, and paying the ANU so much money, like what's my purpose here? I think you've summarized that really, really, really well. So thank you for that. And to conclude today's interview, Aditya, do you have any final piece of advice for students, PPE students, but also anyone else who's watching us today on My College?
Yeah, I guess, I don't want to sound like a grandfather, but, I think that I think CASS is probably, the most diverse school or most diverse college at the ANU. And so I think that, students who have the opportunity in your electives to take courses that are in the college, whether that's sort of art history or Islamic studies, or even something in demography about migration. Really, talk to your conveners in the first year about, because the chances are we do know colleagues who are working in different schools within the college better than we do those working in other colleges. I think that's really something that is worth our while and worth your while. And I think that that some of those courses should be things that you would sort of take on a whim, or somebody might think you're crazy to take, because I think those are the ones that you will remember.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. That's a great piece of advice and great concluding remarks. So Aditya, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure. Yeah.